Hello, we have Emma Isichei here, Chief of Marketing at MHR, and we've grabbed you just for a split second while she has time. But we thought we'd sit you down to have a bit of a chat about what you've been seeing at the Festival of Work, and what's been going on conversation-wise in the world of work. Andy and I, we've had quite a few conversations about learning. I think it's been quite a hot topic, talent especially as well, and interestingly, the human aspect that companies would like back in their HR software. So I'm wondering, what is it that's jumped out to you in the conversations that's been happening around?
Well, firstly, I'd like to take this opportunity to say it is amazing here. It's buzzing, there's loads of people like willing to have conversations about all sorts of things. And I think for a couple of years we've not seen that at a show. So I think this is great. So thank you for having me on here as well.
Brilliant,
so I think
thank
that's good. Going around the show and actually just talking to people on the MHR stand and all around, what we're really seeing is learning is a big thing, yeah? So everybody's talking about learning. But really, the other thing is about skills, and which is related to that. It's about how do people manage skills? How do they grow their own talent? How do they look at what skills they need for now and in the future? And I know you talked about the human aspect, and I think people are concerned about that. But there is also an eye on what technology helps that. Because if you think about it, when we talk about skills and we talk about development, we need the technology, and we're seeing a lot of abilities really to say, look, how do we develop people and understand what their development needs? Not always is it so clear what path people need to take.
Yeah.
So I find it interesting in the conversations I've had where people are talking about, do I train my people and do I develop all my team really around today's skills, tomorrow's skills, and how do I know what tomorrow's skills is? What happens if we start working on a project by project basis? Therefore, a company doesn't necessarily need somebody with these type of skills. What they actually require is a bunch of skills across their organisation.
Right.
And then how do I pick the right people for that project?
Yeah.
So this is always really important.
Yeah, and I think that links actually to what Ross was saying earlier, which is having the right technology at the right place at the right time. And it seems like skills is a really key topic in conversations then, that customers are interested to know, right, in software, what abilities does it have? So I'm really interested. So you've been spending a bit of time on the other stall.
Absolutely.
And we've been demoing a lot of people first. What is it, do you think, that's grasping their attention, and if we bring skills into the discussion as well?
Really understanding about how you're matching those skills and understanding it. Looking at the platform and understanding, so visibly can you show that up?
Right.
And also from a check-in perspective, which comes back to that development point, is in a check-in perspective, if you've got a platform that makes check-in very easily, you can look and pick up sentiment through that particular platform as well. You can use the sentiment, so you're using AI effectively.
Yeah.
You're using that ability to really drive what's the sentiment that's happening. Is it a development? Is it soft skills? Is it more, project or job skills? And so the platform really enables us to be able to see that. And that's what's really good about People First. People First is such a good platform to understand all of your people's needs, but to hand back control to business leaders, business managers, who really have the day-to-day responsibility for making sure that their team are working and they're delivering the right functionality.
We're quite advantaged at MHR, right? Because we're seeing the future of this. We're ahead of the curve, right? And we're trying to talk to people about it. Do you think the market's is hungry for that conversation yet, or do you think we're really having to encourage them to talk and consider these things?
I absolutely think the market is ready for this. I mean, if you look at something and listen to actually some of our customers and the conversations here, people want to make an impact.
Yeah.
We know this, whether that's your home life, whether that's in your work life. People think, okay, how do I make an impact for my business? How do I make an impact for me? So these conversations really about developing yourself, being able to know what do I need to do to be able to help the organisation I'm in, how do I need to be succeeding, is really important. That's learning, but that's also about having the right dialogue and right conversations. And I know you had a speaker earlier on, and it was quite interesting. I had a conversation with them afterwards, which was talking about, okay, how do we have dialogue? How do we create that? Not just a conversation, not just a flow down of communication. And again, when you go to the other stand, people first is around creating that as well. So you have that element to see what's going on in the newsfeed. It's about that communication, that dialogue we need to create between people.
Brilliant, you've just answered my next question. That's good. I was going to ask you about, because we've obviously just recently talked to Richie, but culture is key to driving this change. And his answer to that was, two-way conversation. Yeah, and I was going to ask, what is your take on introducing a skills development platform through culture? How do you do that with your culture?
To expand on that, culture is really important in an organisation. And it's actually very interesting because cultures exist at your company level and then subcultures. And then it gets even more difficult or more hard to understand when you have mergers and acquisitions. Because where have all these come from? So having a platform that enables people to be themselves, to be able to express themselves, and for the company to kind of have a look at that as well, I think is important. But it's not as much as just having a news feed or anything. Come back again to when you talk about check-ins, come back to a business manager understanding the sentiment of their people. That rolls up to as well of understanding what the culture is, how happy people are. And I know happiness is not productivity, but it can be linked to productivity, so it is quite important.
Definitely. I think that's kind of just going on your point there where you talk about happiness and we talk about culture and everything. I think ultimately we're kind of pinning down to, what are the drivers, what influences culture, what influences engagement, and I think we're hearing kind of from the festival that there's many parts to it, and software is just one of them, isn't it? There's people, there's other types that you can bring into it. So I wondered, kind of going on that point, what else do you think we could be seeing in the next 6 months in kind of the transformation of the workplace?
I think one of the most important transformations is really about companies understanding their people data. So really this connection between people and the finance data and how that comes together. So if an organisation can start to really understand a mix of this, they understand the two lifebloods that they have. So think about it, if I can understand all my people data, I can understand how my people are feeling, how productive they are, what they're doing, what their outputs are, how absences are, what the risk to the business is if they leave, all of these things. And then if I match that with a finance system that basically is running the organisation, so I'm doing my close and consolidation, or I'm looking at all of the things I financially have to do for a business, then actually I can start to combine that. So we can start to plan. So again, if you look at some of the things that MHR's got on workforce management, one of the important things there is to understand, okay, if I want to put so many people in so many shifts, what does that cost me? But now take that down to a different level. Do I need different skills in those shifts?
Right.
And then how do I match that cost to it? If I put so-and-so in, what does it mean on a cost?
Right.
So all of these things are really becoming vital and bringing them back together. So I think that's important. The other really big thing, which is related again to people and to finance, is financial wellbeing.
Yeah.
We're seeing a massive movement at the moment within organisations of people understanding not just the well-being of somebody, like how your health is, but financial well-being being important. And some of this is about having pay transparency. So when you look at MHR and what we offer in terms of real-time payroll, when you look at being able to see what I'm earning at that particular moment and how that moves through, that's really, really important to somebody. Because if you think about, like myself, I may have a bit more too much expenditure. It's nice to know, can I actually afford that by the end of the month and what that looks like? So I take away that concerns. And when I'm taking away money concerns, what I'm doing is I'm enabling people to feel better, but actually as an organisation we get more productivity out of it.
And we see it with our research, don't we? We have guys that talk about it, and there's a huge and alarming percentage of people who have concerns about their financial well-being. This impacts their stress, which impacts retention, which impacts company culture, and cost to a business as well. So it does all tie back in. You can't have a good employee experience, you can't have good retention if you don't look after the financial well-being of your employees.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up because actually right next to us we have a talk going on which was about financial transparency, and it was packed. We had people standing right at the back. So I think it goes to show that it probably is becoming more and more into conversations in the workplace. But like you say, we can understand why now because it all feeds into that employee experience, and then it can help kind of combat those retention problems we speak about, well-being on a general level.
I think you're absolutely right. I think financial well-being, pay transparency is just one of those elements. when you get a company, when you look at this, what you can actually see is you can also offer advice. And you don't have to do that advice through yourselves. Like somebody like ourselves, we offer platforms that offers that advice and take it through. So again, you're taking that ability to make the person that's looking for the advice there, nudging them in certain ways to have certain behaviours. All of this is about understanding your employees. And as you said, it's about employee experience.
Definitely. I think that's a good point to end on,
I think
the
it's a
employee
perfect point to end
experience.
on.
Thank you ever so much, Emma.
Thank you very much. Thank you both of you.